Welcome back, football fans. Today we've got huge updates from Barcelona, Real Madrid, and even sprinting legend Usain Bolt. From Gavi's fresh injury setback and what it means for El Clásico, to Xabi Alonso's brilliant start at Real Madrid and how he's handling the egos in the squad, plus Bolt's surprising comments about which Barcelona star could actually beat him in a race. You don't want to miss this one. Let's dive straight into it. Barcelona midfielder Gavi was set to return with full force this season, having spent last year getting back up to speed following a cruciate ligament injury. The 21-year-old is suffering from a meniscus injury though, that will keep him out for more than a month. On Friday, Barcelona's medical team carried out a new assessment of Gavi after he had already spent 2 weeks resting, having missed the match against Rayo Vallecano. According to Gerard Romero, the plan for now is to stick with a conservative treatment based on rest, as the club hopes to avoid meniscus surgery. Gavi and the club's doctors will review his situation again next week to determine if the recovery is progressing or if he will require an arthroscopy. In any case, reports indicate that the midfielder will be sidelined for at least 6 weeks. Since Marca have reported that regardless of whether he follows a recovery plan based on rest and minimal intervention, or has surgery, he will be out for at least 6 weeks. Even if he does rest, their information is that he will not return before the October international break. Barcelona returned to action against Girona on the 18th of October. Should he have the arthroscopy, then he will need 6 weeks to recover from that, but even if the conservative treatment functions and the recovery period is less, he will not be back before the Girona game. What games will Gavi miss? The big disappointment for Gavi is that his presence in El Clásico on the 26th of October, a week after the Girona game, looks unlikely or in all probability minimal. Between those two clashes, the Blaugrana host Olympiacos in the Champions League. Before the international break, Barcelona have 7 games: Valencia H, Newcastle United A, Getafe H, Real Oviedo A, Real Sociedad H, Paris Saint-Germain H, and Sevilla A. Marc Casado and Frenkie de Jong are Hansi Flick's clear alternatives alongside Pedri, although Marc Bernal may be back in contention shortly. Barcelona manager Hansi Flick has had a touchline ban lifted by UEFA, allowing him to sit on the bench for the upcoming clash with Newcastle United. That's according to Marca, who report that the Barcelona manager and coach Marcus Sorg will be allowed to sit on the bench against Newcastle. The newspaper explained that both coaches had been suspended by UEFA for one match following incidents that occurred at the end of the match between Barcelona and Inter in the semi-finals of the Champions League last season. Barcelona were knocked out at that stage. Barcelona appealed the decision and that has now been partially accepted by UEFA, who have lifted the 1-game suspensions for both. The Catalan side argued that the sanctions imposed were neither appropriate nor proportionate in their appeal, even arguing that the ambiguous nature of the offense meant the pair shouldn't be punished as they had been. That was seemingly accepted by UEFA and the suspension suspended for a year. This means that both will be able to manage Barcelona in the match against Newcastle. However, if they commit similar incidents throughout the Champions League season, the sanction will be reimposed. Real Madrid has more egos in the squad than Barcelona, but unlike Barca, Xabi Alonso knows how to deal with egos. Spoiler alert, Xabi Alonso is a terrific manager. Real Madrid fans knew exactly what to expect from their new manager before he arrived. Considering the season before last, he guided Bayer Leverkusen, yes, Bayer Leverkusen, to a Bundesliga title and did it unbeaten, no less. Xabi Alonso knows everything there is to know about the game. He's experienced it with his own body, being involved in some of the most iconic games, and playing alongside some of the best players in the history of the game. Now he's here to give those lessons to Real Madrid players. But before anything else, Xabi Alonso wants to make sure the mentality is right at Real Madrid. He knows better than most that the squad is large right now and this can cause problems in its own right. So, before changing around any positions or implementing tactics, Xabi Alonso did one thing, and that ensured 100% buy-in from his players. If there was a player who didn't buy into his long-term plan, Alonso either convinced them or sold them. Real Madrid has more egos in the squad than Barcelona, but unlike Barca, Xabi Alonso knows how to deal with egos. Xabi Alonso has offered his take on what separates Real Madrid from Barcelona, especially when it comes to managing personalities in the squad. The Real Madrid coach was asked about Hansi Flick's recent comments at Barcelona, where the German manager stressed how damaging egos can be to a team's success. Flick had explained, "The most important thing for me is that when the transfer window closes, everyone is 100% committed. It's important that there are no egos, that kills the chances of success." Alonso highlighted that while Barcelona are focusing on keeping egos in check, Madrid's culture under his leadership is built on unity, respect, and every player pulling in the same direction. In his own words, Alonso said, "We want to be successful with human qualities, with everyone feeling like they're in the same boat, ready to row when necessary. We're starting tough blocks and we need them all rowing in the same direction." That is the main difference between Barcelona and Real Madrid right now. Although it's early days, it's also the reason why Real Madrid has had a better start to the season than their Liga rivals. Perhaps, unlike last season, Real Madrid players want to fight for the badge. They have a renewed reason to reclaim their dominance in Spain and Europe, which is an overlooked reason for the management change. Reason for the management change. Carlo Ancelotti is one of the best to ever do it, but Xabi Alonso has demanded greater respect from his players than Ancelotti did last season, and he's earned it from every individual. At Real Madrid, the mentality under Xabi Alonso is clear. The team wins and loses together, and there's no room for egos. If any appear, Alonso knows exactly how to handle them. Meanwhile, sprinting legend Usain Bolt has made a surprising claim about which Barcelona player might actually beat him in a short race. The Jamaican, one of the most decorated athletes in history, dominated the 100m and 200m across 3 straight Olympic Games between 2008 and 2016, collecting 8 gold medals in total. Bolt's legacy includes world records in both sprint distances, set at the 2009 World Championships in Berlin, with incredible times of 9.58 seconds in the 100m and 19.19 seconds in the 200m. He also helped Jamaica set the 4x100-meter world record at London 2012 with Johan Blake, Michael Frater and Nesta Carter. But despite his lightning pace, Bolt admitted that Marcus Rashford could trouble him over the first 20 yards. In an interview with Darren Bent on TalkSport, the sprinter acknowledged Rashford's explosive acceleration. "Yeah, Rashford is quick out of the blocks, that's what he does," Bolt explained. "He has that burst of speed and over 20 yards he could probably beat me. But after that it's over." Rashford, who left Bolt's beloved Manchester United this summer to join Barcelona on loan, has struggled to make an impact so far in Spain, failing to score or assist in his first 3 appearances for the Catalan side. Bolt is set to present the medals following the 100-meter final at the World Athletics Championships in Tokyo on Sunday. Liverpool. "No, because they'd be tied on titles with us and we can't have that, and because Arsenal talk so much, I'd rather deal with Man City. They're all young fans and I don't know many young people, so I'm fine with that." Usain Bolt once told one of his biggest rivals that he was the only man in the world who could beat him. The Jamaican sprinter, who will go down as one of the greatest athletes of all time, still holds the world record for the men's 100-meter, 9.58 seconds, and 200m, 19.19 seconds, sprints, more than 15 years after setting them. Back in 2009, America's Tyson Gay ran the 100m in 9.69 seconds, making him the second fastest man in the world at the time. But a year previously, Bolt told fellow Jamaican sprinter Asafa Powell that he was the only man in the world who could beat him after previously setting the 100-meter world record on 2 occasions with times of 9.77 and 9.74 seconds. Speaking to The Guardian back in 2011, Powell opened up on the conversations he supposedly had with Bolt. Asafa Powell revealed that he might be the only sprinter who ever truly put fear into Usain Bolt. Over the years, Bolt often told him so, usually after a few drinks, admitting that Powell was the one man he thought could actually beat him. According to Powell, Bolt first confessed this back in 2008, right before the Olympics, after clocking 9.72 seconds. Powell explained that while he kept the thought to himself, he always respected Bolt, and that respect was mutual. Bolt even credited Powell with inspiring him to take on the 100m seriously, something Powell said he valued greatly. Still, when looking back on his toughest rival, Bolt himself pointed to someone else. Speaking recently on the Obi-Wan podcast, the 8-time Olympic gold medalist highlighted American sprinter Justin Gatlin as the opponent who pushed him the hardest throughout his career. "I think Justin Gatlin, I have to give my hats off to him," he said. "The last 5 years of my career, maybe 5-6 years, it was just me and him, every season, and he kept me on my toes, and I love the competition." And that wraps up today's news. Gavi's recovery is still uncertain. Real Madrid are flying under Xabi Alonso's leadership, and Usain Bolt has once again given us a headline to smile about. What do you think? Will Gavi make it back in time for El Clásico? And could Rashford really outpace Bolt over 20 yards? Drop your thoughts in the comments, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more daily football updates, and I'll see you in the next one.